This is National Review Online. We're joined by Congressman Tom Price of Georgia, the chairman of the Republican Study Committee. Congressman, tomorrow you are introducing a bill to halt the lame duck session. Tell us a little bit about what you're up to.
Well, as you know, Senator Reid and Speaker Pelosi and others, including Carol Brauner, have, as recently as today, said that they believe they can shove through some of this crazy legislation between the election and the time that the new Congress is sworn in. That's the lame duck session. Typically used for kind of perfunctory things, custodial things, housekeeping kinds of activities. But what they've said, what they've signaled, is that they want to pass a national energy tax. They want to raise taxes on the vast majority of the American people. They want to increase spending. They may even want to push through an amnesty bill. And so what my resolution says, what we introduced last week, or last week we were here, is a resolution that says we ought not have a lame duck session because these folks won't be honest with the American people. They won't pass those or bring those bills up before the election. They want to do it after the election. We think that's wrong.
Has Leader Boehner agreed to bring this up for a vote, or at least try to get a vote on this tomorrow?
Well, the rules of the House provide for a privileged resolution to come up within 2 legislative days of when it was introduced. So we introduced it the Thursday before we left town. The Friday was the first legislative day, and then tomorrow will be the Tuesday will be the second official legislative day. And the Speaker and Mr. Hoyer have said that they will allow it to come to a vote tomorrow on the floor. Now, it won't be a vote on the actual resolution because it's probable that they will make a point of order against the resolution, say that it's not a matter that's privileged before the House, and then the vote will actually be on tabling the resolution. We believe that the American citizens want to know from their representatives that they either support having a lame duck session that will push through all this craziness and continue the madness, or whether they say, no, we don't want to do that, and we ought not have that lame duck session.
Over the weekend, Carol Brauner, the White House's energy advisor, said it may be a potential push by the Democrats during the lame duck session on climate change legislation or something like that. What's your prediction about what the Democrats are up to on energy?
Well, what they're up to on energy is what they're up to with most other things, and that is pushing issues that the American people don't want. So whether it's health care, whether it's energy, whether it's immigration, whether it's spending, whether it's taxes, all those kinds of things, whether it's card check, the Secret Ballot Destruction Act that they have in store, all those things are against the will of the American people. And so the fact that Carol Brauner actually said that over the weekend, I thought was frankly very candid. She's to be commended for her candor. She's not to be commended for her policy, though. The American people don't want these policies. They will speak out loudly in November, and we ought not have a lame duck session that allows them to shove this stuff through.
Since you're pushing for a halt of the lame duck session in the House, will the GOP in the Senate follow through with this as well? How important is it to get them to also try to stop a lame duck session?
Well, the rules of the Senate are a whole lot different than the House, so I wouldn't presume to tell the GOP senators what to do. They have a lot more latitude in what they're able to do in keeping legislation from coming to the floor. But I think what the American people want is both the House and the Senate, both Republicans and Democrats, to stand up and say, look, stop this madness. We ought not have a lame duck session where things of huge consequence to the American people are potentially passed with a Congress that has been turned out because of the things that they've done up to this point.
Is it also important in a lame duck session to try to stop pork projects, regardless of if they're Republican or Democratic pork projects?
Well, that's important not just in a lame duck session. That's important all the time. The spending that's gone on under Speaker Pelosi and Harry Reid and the President has been astounding, really phenomenally reckless if you ask the folks back home. And they want it stopped. And so whether it's before the lame duck or after the election in a lame duck session, we ought not be continuing this madness.
You're coming back to a special session. The Democrats want to pass a whole new stimulus bill in the middle of the summer. What does this say about the Democrats' priorities, and how will the GOP take advantage of the Democrats literally calling a special session for more spending?
Well, what it says clearly is that they can't even go 2 whole weeks without spending billions of dollars. And so Speaker Pelosi has called the House back in to spend $26 billion, frankly, that we don't have, to provide, quote, stimulus, unquote. And the fact of the matter is that it won't stimulate anything other than bigger government and more responsibilities for the federal government, more burden on the backs of our kids and our grandkids. What it says is that they still, Speaker Pelosi and Harry Reid and the President, still are unable to appreciate that the American people don't believe that they're heading in the direction that we ought to go as a country. We can't continue to borrow and tax and spend our way to prosperity. It just won't work. And so what the people in my district and in the districts that I visited across this great country say is stop this madness, stop the craziness, stop the recklessness, which is why I'm so pleased to be able to have the opportunity to have a vote on whether or not we ought to have a lame duck session.
Will this lame duck resolution you're proposing tomorrow help the GOP generate any kind of momentum? You had so much momentum last summer with the town halls surrounding Obamacare. How will you generate some energy politically this summer for the GOP?
Well, all you got to do is go outside the beltway of Washington, D.C. to appreciate that the energy's already out there. Folks are as mad as they can be, angry about the direction that Washington is taking this country, and they're going to provide the enthusiasm and the energy to take us into the fall. There is no doubt in my mind that the American people are going to send strong messages this November to Washington to say we want checks and balances here, we want a restraint on the craziness, on the spending, on the runaway spending, the reckless, irresponsible spending that's going on here in Washington, and frankly has since Speaker Pelosi took the gavel, and they're going to say, no, we don't think that's the direction we ought to go.
Speaking of the fall, are you comfortable with how the leadership in the House GOP has prepared candidates running for office this summer and really having a conservative line, a conservative agenda that you've been working on in the Republican Study Committee? Has it been enough what Kevin McCarthy and others have been talking about this summer? The talking points, have they been conservative enough for you?
Yeah, well, it all plays into a single message. And that message is that runaway leftist government from Speaker Pelosi and Harry Reid and the President in Washington here is not what the American people want. And whether it's through America Speaking Out, whether it's through the UCUT program, whether it's through the Republican Study Committee and the solutions that we've offered, or whether it's through the wonderful grassroots activity that is happening just organically out there across the country. The enthusiasm and passion and patriotism that I've seen from district after district after district is just heartening and invigorating to all of us who are out there trying to make certain that we turn the country back around in a direction of greater responsibility, greater individual freedom, greater individual liberty, and greater individual responsibility. The people that are running out there in district after district, they know that there's an enthusiasm out there and an energy that they're connected to, and I can't wait to be able to have them come to Washington and assist us in righting this ship.
Great. This is Congressman Tom Price of Georgia, Chairman of the Republican Study Committee. Thanks for joining us here on NRO.
Thank you. Appreciate it.